23 years old. I'm a full-time cancer survivor, motivational speaker, nonprofit founder, thought professional, and recent graduate from Penn State University. I share these things not to boast about my accomplishments, but to show you that no matter what happens in your life, you can do anything that you dream of. Well, the reason I'm here this evening is to share my journey with cancer. My goal is to do much more than that. It's to inspire each one of you to overcome the daily obstacles that life may throw your way. To show you that you can truly do anything in this life. Before sharing my battle with cancer, there's something that I would like to share with each of you and hope you realize as this evening goes on. Every time that you clap or cheer tonight for something that is going on, for someone that is up here on the stage, whether you're breaking it down on the dance floor, realize you are celebrating not just the survivors and the Thon and the Four Diamonds, but you are also celebrating the efforts of the doctors, nurses, surgeons, child life specialists, and everyone that works in these hospitals that truly is saving the lives of children. As I look back on my story, I see it as chapters of a book. One that's quite long for being only 23 years old. But each chapter of this book is lined with courage, resilience, and hope. On July 25th of 2000, I entered this world as a happy and vibrant newborn who quickly found a love for life and always had a smile on his face. Life was flipped upside down on a cold winter night in November of 2002. Little did my family know that what was to come would change the direction of our lives forever. So I was being rocked to sleep on a Tuesday night in the middle of November. My mom found a lump on the right side of my face. With her being the protective mother that she was, and I promise you still is, she made an appointment right away to get checked out. So we went to our appointment on Saturday morning, started by going to the local pediatrician. The local pediatrician sent me to the local hospital in York, Pennsylvania. I had a CT scan and an MRI, and they were like, let's get this checked out further. I was then transported and sent to what was then the Herscher Medical Center. Now, the Penn State Children's Hospital. But with all of this going on, my parents knew that something not so good was going to come from this. On Monday morning, just a few days after my mom noticed a lump on the right side of my face, my parents had to hear four of the worst words that any parent could ever hear in your child has cancer. By the time I arrived at Hershey on Monday morning, the cancer had already metastasized from the right side of my face to my right lung. Doctors began calling my cancer rhabdomyosarcoma and then Ewing sarcoma. Hospitals were consulted and my pathology was sent to 5 hospitals all across the country, and none of them could agree on its origin. It was at that point that they referred to it as an undifferentiated sarcoma, having the characteristics of several different types. This was going to make it very difficult to treat. The beginning of my treatment came with doctors trying to do anything they could to see what would work. This started with the surgery that removed my 8th right rib that was damaged and too affected to stay. Chemotherapy came next, which was week-long hospital stays where I would go in for chemo Monday through Friday, get to go home on Saturday. The next week came with blood tests that would show counts so low that infections would soon follow, and I would end up right back in the hospital for another 3-week vicious cycle of chemo. During this time, we traveled to the Boston Children's Hospital for a second opinion, but were given a grave prognosis. They believed that no matter what they would do, I would not make it any longer than 2 years from that point. While I may not have known exactly what that meant as a 3-year-old, my parents did. And I can't imagine how they lived, knowing doctors were certain I wasn't going to make it. So we returned home. It was at this time that my parents learned that the odds were not stacked in my favor, but I promise you, that didn't mean you were giving up. Radiation started next at Johns Hopkins, and I was put under anesthesia for 31 treatments. We had to travel this distance because Hershey did not have the type of radiation that I needed for my cancer. Radiation was when a beam of radioactive light was directed at the side of my face for 45 minutes each day, where my head was put in a helmet and bolted to the side of the table. I often look back on radiation being the most difficult part about my cancer. Due to the severe burning that it caused to the side of my face, I have scars that I will live with forever. I also lost my hair, got most of my food from a tube, and was living a much different life than many other 3-year-olds. However, after a year of undergoing all of these things, I was put into remission, meaning I got to go home and didn't have cancer anymore. Unfortunately, the cancer had other plans and came back after I was only in remission for a short 11 months. By this time, the cancer had appeared in my right lung. This is when we learned that we were in for a much bigger battle. I underwent my first thoracotomy surgery, where they cut a 10-inch incision under my right arm. Surgeons removed the cancer that they could see, but were unable to get it off. I then underwent more chemotherapy. During this round of chemo, it consisted of day-long stays in outpatient clinic, but to no avail. The next plan of attack was a stem cell transplant, where doctors gave me near lethal doses of chemotherapy, the most they could give me without physically killing me. And then they rescued me with my own harvested stem cells. Because of the severity of a stem cell transplant, it requires patients to stay isolated in hospital rooms until their counts recover. My stay was 28 days, where I could not come out of my room. Thankfully, after that month was up, I got to go home as I was put into remission for the second time. While my stem cell transplant felt like the answer, and it was, for the 6 months that I would remain in remission, the cancer would come back to the same lung. This time, I went through oral chemotherapy, which shrunk the tumor, but did not take it away. This is when we learned that chemo was not the answer. I then went straight to radiation for another 31 more days, being put under anesthesia each time, with wearing that same helmet that I wore from the first time. The radiation then put me into remission for the third time, where the cancer went away, until it came back for a fourth time, to the same lung. The best option was again surgery, but this time it would be much more involved. While I was in surgery, laying on the operating table, fast asleep from the anesthesia, the surgeon came out to the waiting room to inform my parents that the cancer was now in both the upper and middle lobe of my right lung. The doctors and surgeons gave my parents 2 options. Option 1 was to remove both the upper and middle lobe of my lungs, which likely would have caused me to spend the rest of my life on a ventilator. Or option 2, to close me back up and go to radiation. They chose option 2, as they couldn't bear the idea of me being alive, but truly never getting to live. That moment in my parents, when they shared their story, my story with cancer and their experience with it, is one of the hardest decisions that they say that they have ever had to make in their lives. I went again through another 15 more days of radiation, now totaling to 77 radiation treatments. And yes, if we turned the lights out in here, I would glow. It was at that time that I was put into remission for what was to be the final time. After a 5-year-long battle with cancer that consisted of hundreds of chemotherapy treatments, 77 radiation treatments, 2 thoracotomy surgeries, a stem cell transplant, thousands of needles, IVs, and anesthesia, on February 12th of this year, I celebrated being 17 years cancer-free. Even though I was put into remission for the final time in February of 2007, the battle with cancer was far, far from over. Cancer will affect my life forever, and it does for just about every person that goes through it. Facing cancer as a child made the tough parts of growing up even tougher. Many people believe that when you get put into remission and become cancer-free, that it goes away forever, and that you are no longer affected by it. However, again, I can promise you that is far from the truth. My 5-year battle has left me with effects that I will deal with forever, and some I don't even know about yet, and others that I face each and every day. Some of those things were loss of hearing in my right ear, loss of vision in my right eye. I had all of my teeth removed, and I had to relearn how to eat. And that came in high school, and I promise you that was not easy. The thoracotomy surgeries removed the lobes of my lung, making it difficult to breathe, and actually caused my spine to shift to a 67-degree curve, which will come with an upcoming scoliosis surgery. But those things weren't the ones that affected me the most. The toughest one was the radiation that brought the scarring to the side of my face. I believe deep down that the way I look has caused me more pain in my life than anything else that I've ever gone through. Dealing with all of those other effects have just been bumps in the road, monotonous. As a kid, I spent a lot of time around other children going through cancer, but if you saw them now, you probably couldn't tell that they went through cancer just by looking at them. But for me, it's much different. Just by looking at me, you're able to tell that I went through something that has altered the direction of my life. The scars on my face caused me to be bullied because others didn't understand what I was going through. It got so bad where I even moved schools so that I could be under the protection of my older cousin who went there. And even though he's not here tonight, Colin, thank you for not just serving as my cousin, but as an older brother and my protector. He means more to me than you will ever know. Living with the scar will affect my daily life forever. From the constant double takes, to seeing friends, to seeing people tap on the shoulder of their friends just to point me out. This makes the days where I'm not feeling so good about myself a lot harder. But I will tell you this, if they catch me on a good day and I notice it, I'll just make a silly face at them. Facing all of these physical challenges that have come from cancer has put a tremendous strain on my mental health. There is no feeling like knowing that I shouldn't be alive today or have even made it past the age of 5. Knowing that my parents planned my funeral is very scary at times. It's one thing I wouldn't wish upon anyone. Living every day with the thought that cancer could return is not easy. I first-handedly have seen people relapse 15 years after being put into remission and ultimately losing their battle to cancer. But I do know that I've kicked cancer's butt 4 times and I could do it again. Despite all the physical and mental challenges due to my battle with cancer, 20 years ago, I never thought that I'd be in the position that I am today. And a lot of that is a thank you to the 4 Diamonds, Thon, and Penn State. In 2004, I attended my first Thon and was paired with the organization ATO and Zeta, where I gained hundreds and hundreds of new brothers and sisters. My parents gained hundreds and hundreds of new sons and daughters as well, where we hosted trips to my house and quickly became the fun place to be on weekends. As the years went on, and I was facing the hardships of bullying and not loving who I was, visiting Penn State quickly became my escape from reality. So much so that I spent many weekends in high school and state college. Attending college was never really a thought in the eyes of my doctors. Due to the large amounts of radiation that I endured, they believed that I wouldn't be able to keep up with the fast-paced classes that college brings. But I knew I was going to Penn State from the moment that I walked into my first Thon, which was in the White Building in 2004. So I applied to Penn State in the fall of 2018 and was accepted right around Christmas of that year. And this was truly a dream come true. I started attending Penn State in the fall of 2019 and immediately got involved through Thon in both a committee and with ATO. As a junior, I served as a family relations chair for ATO, where I led our organization in adopting a new Thon family, bringing my journey almost to full circle. It was just about a year and a half later, in the spring of 2023, where I got to dance in my 20th Thon and got to live out my full circle journey. And even though I graduated from Penn State in May of 2023, I will always continue to support the Four Diamonds, Thon, and my organization for the rest of my life. Since then, I've been eager to fill the void that is not being able to truly participate in Thon. Because of that, I am proud to publicly announce for the first time that I recently have created my own nonprofit foundation called the Tucker Haas Foundation. The goal of the Tucker Haas Foundation is to continue the support and funding that organizations like the Four Diamonds give to active patients by extending the fight against cancer through being put into remission, as the effects of cancer last forever. Along with creating the Tucker Haas Foundation, I developed a strong passion for speaking. In the fall of 2022, I had the incredible opportunity to share my battle with cancer and my story of life with the world through a CBS documentary that was done on me. For me, I never realized how much of an impact that just my battle with cancer alone has affected people all across the world. It wasn't until that video was posted and people reached out to me from all across the world where I truly understood that my story could change the lives of other people. It was then that I developed the desire to weave public speaking into the fabric of my life's journey. Although extremely challenging, this journey has given me insight and wisdom that I otherwise may never have found. And because of that, my goal is to not just share my battle with cancer, but to empower others to overcome obstacles that life may bring them. While my life story may span a few more chapters than some, I believe that within each of us resides a compelling story worth sharing and worth living for. And that is truly why I am here. Cancer is the cause for many things that have come in my life, and I would not be where I am today without my diagnosis 22 years ago. But cancer does not define me, and I am much more than just that kid who had cancer. For the longest time, I believed that my cancer was my story, but it's not. Yes, it has helped shape the outcome of my life, helped me find my passions, and has allowed me to do some incredible things, but it doesn't define me. Cancer is not my story. Cancer is just a battle that I have faced in my story. I'll say that again. Cancer is not my story. Cancer is just a battle that I have faced in my story. Now I could go on and on about my battle with cancer and, my journey of life after cancer, but I have learned that I am here to do much more than that. If there is something that you take away from this speech tonight, allow it to be this. And I'm going to challenge each of you to do this in your daily lives. My nickname is Tuck. Always has been, and probably always will be. My message is encapsulated by that nickname, and I created an acronym, Tuck. Think, be unique, have courage, and be kind. The T is to think. Each day, I challenge you to spend time in thought. Think about where you have been, think about where you are right now, and think about where you want to be in the future. Taking a few minutes every day to just think about your life is important, and since I have started doing it, I now have developed a passion to speak for a career. And you can find your passions and do the same thing too. The U is to be unique. Throughout my life, I have spent so much time trying to find my place in the world by changing how I've dressed, talked, acted, and who I've hung out with. But I've learned that I'm much happier by just being me. When you are yourself, the people that are meant to be in your life will be there. So be unique. The C is for courage. I challenge you to have courage by doing things that are out of your comfort zone. I have spent so much time hiding from situations that have frightened me. But with more and more that I have put myself out there, I have found that it is very worth doing. You can truly accomplish anything in this world if you're just a little bit courageous. The K is to be kind. I found that this world is a very cruel place at times. Living with the effects of cancer, I've been judged, teased, bullied, and left out. We all have a story worth living for, and you never know what is happening in somebody else's story. So be kind to everyone. Along with my challenge to talk, I use the hashtag #EmbraceYourStory, which serves as a reminder to appreciate the journey of life, often overlooked in our pursuit of reaching a destination. For a long time, so many people were scared to tell me what was going on in their life because they thought their stories did not compare to mine. But if there's anything that is bothering you in your life, talk to someone. The power of support of loved ones, friends, or even strangers that you've never met before is truly unshackled. Before I wrap this up, I'm going to go completely off script here, which is something I've never done before. But I'd like to take this time to thank a few people. First two people I'd like to thank are my mom and dad. Without the support from them, I would not be standing here in front of you today. Because of the things that they've sacrificed in their lives, I am excited to share that I will be making public speaking my career, where I'm going to travel all across the world to share my story of not just cancer, but of being courageous, being resilient, and having hope. I'd like to thank a couple people in this audience tonight as well. Kristen and Stephanie, you guys have been my main points of contact through this. Seeing you put this event together is truly amazing, and I appreciate people like you for giving me the opportunity to stand on this stage to share my battle with cancer and my story of life. I brought 3 people along with me tonight. They're sitting right here in the front. One of my buddies, James, went to Penn State, was an ATO with me, and has been a friend since the first day we met. His girlfriend Blair is along with him as well. Now she was in Zeta, which is a little bit of a... so I'm not going to judge, right? But she's an amazing person as well, and I appreciate the two of you being here tonight. My date for the weekend, Jamie, I met her when I was 17 years old as a junior in high school, and spent many weekends with her in State College, and got to meet her family and have become a second child, third child to her parents. It's because people like you 3 give me the power and the push to allow me to be up here. So thank you. Cancer has taken many things away from me and will continue to do so as life goes on. But what cancer has given me far outweighs those. Not many people can say that they are living out their dreams at 23 years old, but I certainly am. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. Cancer does not define me, but it has shaped who I have become. If you're out here in this audience tonight, I ask that if you take a picture of me, take a picture with your friends, or whoever you're here with tonight, that you use the hashtag #EmbraceYourStory as I'm trying to grow that around the world. One day, we will find a cure for cancer, and it will be in my lifetime. Thank you so much for allowing me to have the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I look forward to meeting each one of you tonight and continuing to share my story of courage, resilience, and hope. Thank you.